What's up, guys? We back finally with part 2. I can't lie to you guys, I had to take a couple of days off. You know, I had to recover. After seeing that first half of the interview, I definitely needed a rest because I was in disbelief, absolute and utter shock and embarrassment for the TPLF and their supporters. Because it was utter joke, honestly, bro. The first half was a joke thing. Now, I'm hoping, because you know what? Everybody deserves a second chance, all right? Everybody deserves a second chance. We've given this guy about a couple hundred chances, but you know what? Let's give him 101, okay? 101 like the Dalmatians, yeah? Like the Dalmatians. You know, who doesn't love a bunch of bitches? We love a bunch of other bitches, oh you favors. At Hazale, please. So yeah, guys, we're gonna react to part 2. Hopefully it's a bit better. Again, I'm watching this with you guys, so I don't even know what's happening. I specifically avoided watching it just for you guys. So you're welcome. You should feel very special, honestly.
Welcome back to Head to Head on Al Jazeera. My guest tonight is government minister and an advisor to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Getachew Reda. Getachew, in part 1, we talked about the prospects for war. We talked about your own record in terms of moving over from the TPLF to the current government. Let's talk about the current government. Let's talk about Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, a man who at first was heralded as a reformer. He got a peace prize. He was seen as a fresh leader after decades of oppressive TPLF-dominated rule, your former party. Today, though, under his rule, we're witnessing an erosion of human rights.
This guy looks so sad, bro. He just looks so sad and betrayed. Like, Mendi Hassan, bro, I can't lie. Listen, I don't feel sorry for him, but, like, it's just, I don't know, man. I kind of feel, look at his face, man. Come on, man. His face looks like he's just been exiled from his region and, like, he has to work with his best friend, you know what I'm saying? This is the face of a man that has to work with his best friend every day, man. It's just sad, man. You know what I'm saying? I feel for him. Low-key, not really. Not really.
Ethiopia's economy is struggling. Poverty is on the rise. Now, as you said in part 1, you support the Prime Minister.
To be fair, though, let's be real. Has there ever been a time when Ethiopia has not been, like, poor, bro? Do you get what I'm saying? There've always been people, the general public have always been poor. And there's always been starving people. So let's not blame on Abiy Ahmed solely, okay? I'm gonna give him credit in that regard, yeah? It's always been like that.
Now, as you said in part 1, you support the Prime Minister in terms of trying to end conflict, especially abroad. But surely on the domestic front, you could agree that it's not going so well for Abiy Ahmed on the domestic front.
Bulldozing your way out of every crisis is not going to work. So to the extent that I have a role to play, it's as much about addressing the Tigray crisis as trying to give my piece of advice to the Prime Minister. That
what about all the opposition politicians and journalists who are being locked up? You used to be against that back in the day.
Well, I'm still against any such move against opposition leaders.
Well, you're an advisor to the Prime Minister. Have you asked him to release some of these journalists and politicians?
Well, you give me a list and I definitely will do that, believe me.
I'll read to you.
Hey, I can't lie to you, bro. From time you're saying no one on the list that he exposed for corruption and all that other stuff, stealing gold and shit. From time he's saying he was not involved in the list, he just found out, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trusting him on anything, bro. I'll be real. I'm gonna be so real.
I'll read to you from the Committee to Protect Journalists from August. Okay. Ethiopian journalists were abducted by masked men. 2 others were detained. We are alarmed by the abduction of Ethiopian newspaper editor Jonas Amare, the arbitrary detention of journalist Kader Mohammed Ismail, the incommunicado detention of radio host Abdul Samed Mohammed. I can keep going. Should they be released?
They should be released, yeah.
Well, I mean, telling me that's great, but I'm not the Prime Minister of Ethiopia.
Well, I don't exactly know what the allegations against them are.
Why don't you find out?
I once was an information minister. I had been dealing with such kinds of issues. And I don't believe that detaining journalists for their professional work is acceptable.
What about the federal MP Christian Tadale, who was taken last year, detained? He's now very ill in prison. His family are very worried about him. He's a member of parliament.
He should have his day in court. Anyone who is accused of any crime should have their day in court, and they should be treated decently.
You have all these tensions in Ethiopia, and some people would say undermines Prime Minister Abiy's very grand vision for unity, which is outlined in a series of books called Medema, which means coming together. Yeah. And Medema in part advocates for ending Ethiopia's division into ethnic states and pushing for a united country. It's very idealistic, very grand. A lot of people have criticized that pan-Ethiopian ideology. Some people call it an assimilation agenda that's been the source of the problems for Ethiopia. Other people call it bullshit. Some people say Abiy has no idea what Medema is.
All right, I'm gonna rewind it a bit, innit? Because I just like, he's saying assimilation, innit? Like, are you talking about assimilation to like Ethiopian identity, or is it assimilation to like a specific tribe? Because as a nation of people, you're supposed to be a nation of people, right? You can be your ethnic groups as well, but you're not supposed to just like have your ethnic group supersede your national identity. So I'm gonna rewind that just to double check.
A lot of people have criticized that pan-Ethiopian ideology. Some people call it
pan-Ethiopian ideology. So like all Ethiopian tribes unite to one under the flag. I mean, listen, that's not, realistically speaking, any, competent leader would want that from their people. They don't want like a bunch of different ethnic groups having their own governments and ruling over their own land specifically, and trying to attack the federal government. It doesn't make no sense. So in that regard, I don't know what Mendi Hassan's trying to, get at. That's not, like, it's not the craziest thing in the world.
An assimilation agenda that's been the source of the problems for Ethiopia. Other people call it bullshit. Some people say Abiy has no idea what Medema is. What do you say to those critics?
Well, but the only Medema book I've read is the most recent one. So I gave my my assessment of what the book stands for.
You called it a noble document.
Did I call it a noble document?
Yeah.
I said it has grand ideas, and the way to put them on the ground, to implement them, would require a serious policy debate. I wasn't endorsing any policy. I was simply saying that he has a vision.
Just to be clear, the people who said it was bullshit and an assimilation agenda that's the source of the problems, and who said Abiy doesn't have any clue about Medema, was, drumroll, you.
Okay, now I'm getting what he's saying. So he doesn't really have an issue with like the whole plan. It's just Getachew Reda said it was a simulation and it was pretty much a joke thing. That makes so much sense. Because I was looking at Mendi Hassan, I was like, what the hell is he talking about, bro? That's the good thing, bro. You're supposed to do that. And you know what? Getachew's even more confused than me right now. Look at his hands. He's more confused than me, bro. Honestly, fam.
Well, Medema, I mean, I'm talking about the only book I have read, and I commented on it.
So why did you say in 2020 Abiy came up with Medema? He doesn't have any clue about Medema.
No, he had a clue about Medema, but I didn't subscribe to what he said in the Medema back then. And
but you do now?
I'm not even sure.
Do you still think it's bullshit?
No,
Yeah, this guy is way too happy about this. What the hell? Hey, this guy's looking like he's at a stand-up comedy show, bro. This guy looks like he's at a stand-up comedy show, bro. This guy is enjoying it too much, fam. It's literally a political debate, bro. And look, you got a woman in the background side-eyeing him like, why are you laughing? This is serious. This is serious. Zon's laughed. And then a Somali girl behind him, just like, what the hell, man? Langab.
The last 5 years to avoid the kinds of sweeping characterizations that people make, and I once made.
You're a reformed man.
I wouldn't say reformed, but
What do you mean you're not reformed? Like, as in, like, you do the same, you move like the same as when you was in the TPLF? Like, the corrupt TPLF? So you're not reformed from the corrupt TPLF? That's kind of mad. I'm gonna be real.
Just to be clear, when I interviewed you in 2016 for Al Jazeera, you were a government minister, as you mentioned, spokesperson for the TPLF.
For the government, for the federal government.
But you were also in the TPLF.
Yes.
Now you're with the Abiy government, you're anti the TPLF. Next year, who knows where you'll be? People would say, how can we take you seriously?
Well, you should
come out, you hop.
Because I will tell you this. Once what I contribute, whatever I can contribute to the betterment of the lives of the people of Tigray, if I can do whatever I can to make sure this misguided leadership, this misguided leadership doesn't end up creating the same miscalculation that landed the people of Tigray in this situation, and then I'll be gone.
Honestly, I'm gonna be raw. Again, that is a noble cause, showing like, you know, love and support for your people. Literally going and working with whoever will help your people and that. Like, that's admirable, right? However, like what he's saying is kind of BS because again, he was a part of the TPLF regime. He was a part of the same regime doing corrupt stuff and, you know, doing some crazy stuff. And granted, of course, you know, it's a big party. He wasn't probably involved in every single corrupt stuff that happened, but there is no way that he wasn't involved in none, especially when he was in a high-ranking position in the TPLF. He was a spokesperson and he was the leader at some point as well. Now, you know, and this was during the war as well. Like, he took over a bit during the war and when Gebretsion wasn't doing good. Like, he was the only one that was kind of out there and that.
To another party?
No, probably to academia, to writing books and all that. Believe me, I'm not interested in the corridors of power anymore. Even now,
You're not interested in political power, even though you've been in politics for 20-odd years.
Even now, I don't clear my words with.
Yeah, everyone in the crowd is laughing, bro. Like, everyone in the crowd, like, bro, even the white guy's confused, man. Like, bro.
The Prime Minister, I don't clear my words with anyone, and I do what I do, and I say it because I think it's in the best interest of the people. On that note,
critics of Abiy say he has a messiah complex. He's once said that he was divinely ordained to rule, that his mother had a vision that he would be the seventh king
said that, right?
to unite Ethiopia. An advisor of his said Abiy believes he's God anointed.
You know, I heard about that. I heard that Abiy had a dream. His mom had a dream or whatever, like about him being the king to unite Ethiopia as one. So much so that they stopped calling him Abiy Ahmed for a bit. And they called him Martin Luther Nugus, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he had a dream.
Believes he's God anointed. Has he said that to you? Does he tell you that he's the king?
No, he said it in public. He said it in Parliament, right?
Did he say it to you?
No, he didn't say it to me.
Wait, he said it in Parliament? Hey, I didn't even know he said it in Parliament. That's jokes. He went to Ethiopian Parliament and said he's the king. That's hilarious.
As a matter of fact, he was a very close friend even before he got elected. So, but
who was he said?
Of course, close friends. Because we started off as close friends. Getachew Reda's moving like a little baby, bro. Every 2 seconds. Started off as close friends. Somehow you turn into my best friend. Now we work every single day together, you know, to dismantle the TPLF regime and their corrupt agenda, bro.
He said what? But Abiy was my close friend.
You hated him. You said he was a genocidal warmonger, imperialist.
Yeah, but
weird friends you have.
That doesn't change the fact that we're friends.
The fact that he's a...
Bro, I swear down, bro. I haven't repeated this, bro. I haven't gone back. This is the second part of the interview, bro. I haven't gone back. They just keep repeating the same shit.
The fact that he's a genocidal warmonger didn't change the fact that you were friends.
No. I'm stating the fact.
Before the genocide, you mean you were friends?
Yes.
And after the genocide, you were friends? Just during the genocide, you weren't friends?
We were fighting each other. We're at each other's
yes, and thousands of people...
No. I mean, let's not belittle the whole idea of this genocide, whatever. What I'm saying is...
I'm not the one belittling you. You're the one who said you used to be friends with the guy you accused of being
No. He didn't tell me personally that he was a messiah or anything.
Do you believe he's a messiah?
He said his mother told him he would once be a king.
Do you believe Abiy was chosen by God to rule Ethiopia?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
Have you told him that?
How is this even a conversation? Like, bro, how did we even get here? Like, how is this even a conversation that's being had? Do you think that he's the Messiah, bro? What is going on? This pretty much sums up like the Ethiopia right now, blood. You know, the government. Speaking in terms of the government and that, it's just a complete mess and shambles, bro. You know what I'm saying? You got federal government beefing with all these different militia groups beefing with the federal government and one another. You got this guy who used to work for the TPLF, was the leader of it, now working with Abiy Ahmed, who was allegedly genociding his own people, his words, not mine, right? His words. Kidnapped his sister, and he's saying, no, they're best friends. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he kidnapped his sister, but he's best friends. What is going on? Like, I can't be the only one that thinks this is ridiculous.
I don't have to tell him.
I mean, you kind of do. He thinks he is, and you're his advisor. Advisors normally give advice.
I don't believe God has a specific choices or whatever to lead. As long as you think you can lead the country and you prove your mettle, you can be leader.
Has he proved his mettle?
He has yet to prove his mettle.
He's been in the office for several years. He's still yet to prove his mettle.
This is my position. Okay. I'm not in the business of settling.
Oh yeah, you know what's kind of mad, yeah? I don't know exactly when Abiy Ahmed got into office, yeah, but I remember the peace still happened in 2018 and he was in office. So let's just say he came around that time, right, he would have nearly been like 10 years in office. And I can't lie to you, Abiy Ahmed, I feel like I'm kind of, people still kind of, I think people like know him as the leader of Ethiopia and that, but still, it just feels a bit like, it still feels like he's a bit new. I don't know.
But accounts on his behalf. I'm not in the business of.
And if he watches this interview and he sees his advisor saying he's yet to prove his mettle and he may be guilty of genocide, do you think he'll fire you or keep you on?
I honestly am not. I don't really care what happens as a result of that. But I.
Hey, yo, Getachew Reda said he don't care, blood. He says it is what it is. You get what I'm saying, bro? That's kind of crazy. The fact that he said he don't care what happens, bro. Jeez, I don't know if he's trying to play tough guy or he's just, trying to save face. I don't even know.
We have reason to believe that saying those things in public does not necessarily lead to the kinds of consequences. But like I said, I don't care.
I live in a country where the leader thinks he's also a king. So let's go to our panel. Sidale Lema is editor of the Addis Standard newspaper. Abiy came to power as a reformer, self-styled. You wrote a New York Times editorial a few years ago titled, "He promised peace, then he tore the country apart." What do you think his legacy is as a prime minister?
Exactly what you just said now. Look, we might be discussing about the crisis in the Tigray region, but Ethiopia began to get engulfed in wars soon after he came in Oromia regional state, his own turf, right? And in Amhara region today, in Oromia, the wars continued there. There's no indication whatsoever to end them through political.
Yeah, but again, as we said before, like, this has been going on, bro. You can't really blame Abiy for that, bro. I'm gonna be real. Like, some people say it's a lot worse now that Abiy's in charge, but the TPLF were dealing with the same stuff, bro. The TPLF were dealing with the same stuff. If anything now, when Abiy Ahmed came in to deal with this mess, it's gone a lot worse because people have been dealing with it a lot longer than when it was just under the TPLF. Do you get it? So they're kind of a bit more frustrated, a bit more aggressive than under the TPLF.
Settlement. We have seen assassinations of the likes of Hajalu Hundessa, the likes of Bate Orgesa, men who should not have been assassinated, under the watch of the same prime minister. Naturally.
Again, listen, I'm not here to say who got, assassinated or whatever, but I'm going to be honest, TPLF did the same shit, bro. TPLF, Haile Selassie, Mengistu probably as well, I'm not sure, probably Mengistu as well, definitely, actually, you know what, definitely Mengistu. Definitely Mengistu. All these guys did the same shit. Like, how are we blaming Abiy for this shit, bro? Like, this is ridiculous.
Wars tear societies apart. And when you also oversee the assassination of prominent figures and refuse for any independent investigation.
Yeah, that white guy looks freaking awkward, bro. He's like, oh shit, okay, I don't want to get involved in this shit. I just study it. You guys live it. That's what he's thinking right now. He's just like, oh shit, I'm not trying to get involved. I'm not trying to be next on the list. The way that this guy is acting, I would not be surprised if he has a transit flight through Addis Ababa International Airport, bro. Like, in a couple days, bro. Because this guy is head down. He's not trying to get involved in none of this conversation right now. He's just trying to speak on his stuff. She's talking about all these people getting assassinated and that. He doesn't want to be the next one. Do you get what I'm saying? He's just trying to go to his holiday to Tanzania or something. Go on his transit flight with no problems. That's why his head's down.
For the truth to come out, you are sowing the seeds of bitterness within your own communities. What the Tigray war did to us is finished that work.
Okay, that makes sense now. I think she's Tigrayan, guys, because she said what that did war to us. Yeah, I mean, Ethiopia, like, as a whole, Tigrayans are still Ethiopian, but most of the people that I see complaining this much about the Tigray war and, like, really, like, angry about it are the Tigrayan people or people from Tigray. Because remember, the Amharas and the Afar region, they was involved in that war, The Ethiopian federal government, the soldiers from, all over Ethiopia were involved in that war as well. Understandably, obviously, like.
We are not anywhere close to coming together. Every fabric of Ethiopian society was torn apart. And there is no turning back.
We're being torn apart, no signs of coming together. Do you agree with that?
What the Tigray conflict has done is, like she said, create a sense that people maybe after all don't see any hope. So what we have to do is to make sure that whatever chance there is to salvage and a semblance of unity needs to be put together. And whatever effort I'm going to make, first and foremost, is about protecting the interests of the people of Tigray, and of course to ensure that Ethiopia doesn't continue to slide. It takes engagement with whoever is in charge, Prime Minister Abiy included, to arrest this development, not to just complain about.
This government has shut down various initiatives to get.
I'm gonna be real. Maybe she isn't Tigray, maybe she's Ethiopian, but you know, like what he said, he's saying he's there to work with the people and you know the government and whatever, represent the Tigrayan people. Again, listen, if that's what he really wants to do, is what, isn't it? But from his track record and the TPLF track record, they really care about themselves, honestly, bro. Like that's what they've shown, innit? And respectfully speaking, again, as an Eritrean, even though Abiy Ahmed is trying to take Asset Port, threatening Eritrea's sovereignty by taking Asset Port and that, I'm gonna have to defend him here. Like, he's not crazy for wanting the Tigray region to follow the federal government, you know? That's what normal countries do. That's what most countries do. They have these states that follow the federal government. They can, you know, manage themselves or whatever, they govern themselves, but they always listen to the federal government. Like, the federal government is always in charge.
To arrest this development, not to just complain about.
This government has shut down various initiatives to get justice and accountability. That's a fact.
How are we gliding around this if we ever need to come together as a society?
No.
Oh my days, yo. She just came out of nowhere with that, fam.
No. What I'm saying is, in the context of Pretoria, for example, whether transitional justice and everything, transitional justice is not just about Tigray, it's about the entire country. It needs to be fully implemented. That's my position. I know that the challenge, but we have to engage the federal government anyway.
There are other challenges related to that. Bisrat Lemesse is an independent researcher, runs the think tank Nexus Forum for Research and Dialogue. Bisrat, what do you say to people who worry there won't be free and fair elections in Ethiopia next year, that Abiy is an autocrat? What is your response to them?
Well,
I'm gonna be real. Listen, bro, I don't want to hear no free or fair elections BS, bro, from Ethiopia. Ethiopia has never had a democratic government, bro. They've never had a democratically elected leader, bro. Every single one of their leaders have been some sort of monarchy or dictatorship, bro. Don't try and, you know what I'm saying? Don't try and move like it's some democratically free country and shit and there's always elections. Like, it's a joke thing, bro. They're not no gold standard for democracy, bro. They're not a democratic nation. They've never been a democratic nation. They've always been some sort of like authoritarian government. So that being said, I think it's kind of a bit weird that he's trying to move like there's some, you know, gold standard for democracy and that Abiy's trying to withhold elections. Bro, they've never had real elections ever. Never have they had real elections in Ethiopia, bro.
Well, I don't think that's a fair assessment. Trying to put everything on Abiy as the architect of the vision in Ethiopia is either it's a cynical attitude or it's failing to understand Ethiopia's complex history, tensions around ethnicity, religion, ideology.
Been saying this, bro. I'll give you guys a little bit of context of Ethiopian history. To sum it up, right? If I was to sum up Ethiopian history as a whole, they've had multiple people claiming that they're the rightful heirs to the throne. They're the rightful rulers, and they have something called the Solomonic dynasty, where they're saying that they're related or they're the descendants of King Solomon, the same King Solomon in the Bible. So that's what they're saying. And then as well, they've had multiple different leaders from different ethnic groups. They all do the same thing. Claim to be a descendant from Solomon, take the throne, and oppress the people. That's literally it. Then it changed when Mengistu Haile Mariam overthrew Haile Selassie. And then it was no longer a monarchy. It was just an authoritarian regime. And then guess what happened? He did the same thing. He oppressed people. But he was more trying to integrate people, not on like ethnic lines, just integrate people into like Ethiopian, you know, to be one nation. Meles Zenawi came in, TPLF, you know, he came in, divided it up again, regionalized that shit, introduced ethnic federalism, where every single ethnic group had their own region. And he was ruling, he was kind of, you know, he's doing the same thing. And he was doing the same thing, oppressing. So when they're saying, you know, Abiy's doing this and it's some new thing, no, it's not a new thing, bro. They've been doing this. This is the fabric of Ethiopian leadership. That's how it moves.
And throughout its history, it's been accumulating problems after problems after problems. In 2018, the Prime Minister ascended to power because everybody, including TPLF leaders, recognized that the country was inching towards implosion and change was necessary. But let me tell you one thing. people usually talk about the euphoria that happened in 2018, but that hid two divergent political forces. One that blamed TPLF for its monopolistic approach and sought more ethnic autonomy. They expected that from the Prime Minister. The other one said ethnic federalism is the root of all our problems, and he's supposed to shred the constitution, dismantle the structure, and bring in something new. Now, this is the Ethiopia that the Prime Minister inherited, but that is where the transitional justice framework comes in. Let's confront our past, reconcile, move on. That is where the National Dialogue Initiative comes. Let's come together and do a bottom-up approach.
Let me bring in Shikor Tronvall, is Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies at Oslo New University College. Shikor, there's this phrase that's now doing the rounds, mega, make Ethiopia great again. Abiy's been associated with this phrase.
Yo, even Getachew can't take that seriously. He's looking, he's like, what the hell? Ata Kufo. What the hell? What's going on? This guy, make Ethiopia great again, bro. Even Getachew can't believe it, man. That's hilarious.
Phrase. Some people think mega is just a way for Abiy to, push his own agenda, big up himself, self-aggrandizement. What do you make of what?
Is that a real thing, guys? Like, let me know in the comment section down below. I think I've heard it once or twice, but I don't know if it was an actual thing. I thought people were just trolling and shit.
He's trying to do with Ethiopia. Is he trying to restore some form of greatness, bigger boundaries, bigger borders? What is his goal in your view?
I think all of the above is his goal. Will he succeed? Probably not, because he's repeating the mistakes as done by earlier emperors and governments in Ethiopia. Every time a government is trying to centralize power in Ethiopia, it creates counterforces from the regional states or from the ethnic groups, call it whatever you want. And in addition to the centralization process, Abiy is also trying to impose all-embracing Ethiopian identity, using a language and a rhetoric harking back to an imperial time, which is very provocative for the gentleman sitting next to you, and that ideology from the Tigray People's Liberation Front, from the Oromo Liberation Front, and from others. So he's trying to create something which have failed 2 times before, and I think it will fail again.
Is mega...
It's the truth, guys. So the centralizing Ethiopia's government isn't just as simple and straightforward as you think it'd be. All these different ethnic groups and tribes have been oppressed, right? And they've been speaking a language called Amharic, which is the Amhara people's national language. And Ethiopia speak Amharic. Most Ethiopians speak Amharic, but most Ethiopians aren't Amhara. And unlike previous emperors and leaders, they were being oppressed and forced not to speak their language. So especially even the Tigrayans weren't allowed to speak Tigrinya. They weren't allowed to speak Tigrinya. And when Meles Zenawi came into power, he used that as one of the justifications to bring in ethnic federalism. He said every ethnic group can have their own land, they can speak their own languages, and have their own culture. But realistically speaking, the main reason he did that wasn't really to be a good person. It was to gain control and have control over these different tribes. Because if they're all united, then he could be overthrown, especially because Tigray, as of now, is like 6 million people. Amhara is, just for reference, right? Last time I checked, were over 50 million people. And they're the second largest ethnic group in the whole of Ethiopia. Oromos being number 1. So Oromos have more Oromos than Amharas. So if Meles Zenawi united everyone and they turn on Tigray or whatever, he's losing power, bro. You know what I'm saying? Literally.
I think it will fail again.
Is mega provocative to you? Is this idea of subsuming ethnic identities into one pan-Ethiopian ideology? Does that worry you? You used to call him imperial, as we've discussed tonight.
No, that's such a project is not going to work, whether it comes from Abiy, from TPLF, or from whoever it is who promotes such agenda. It's not going to work because...
You're not worried about the centralization of power that Shikor identified?
No, but I haven't abandoned any of the misgivings that I had when the centralization of power led to the kinds of conflicts. What I am saying is whatever is going to work in Ethiopia should take into account the diversity of the country.
I feel like he's beating around the bush a bit, yeah? The reason that it won't work, the reason that this centralization government won't work is purely because the way that Ethiopia was founded, bro. None of these people, most of these people, did not want to be a part of Ethiopia originally. When Ethiopia was the Abyssinian Empire, they colonized the southern states and they got the Somali region as well. So this centralization won't work because most of these people don't want to be Ethiopian. Expecting Ethiopia to integrate and centralize when your biggest region is the Somali region is quite hilarious because they don't even want to be there, bro. They want to reunite with Somalia.
The problem was a question of striking a perfect balance between maintaining an Ethiopian nationality while at the same time maintaining the level of autonomy that ethnic groups or nations and nationalities should have. And unless you maintain that perfect balance, then any project is doomed to fail. That's my position. And that is the kind of advice I would give him anyway.
Okay, let's go to our very patient audience here in the Conway Hall in London. If you have questions for Getachew, please do raise your hands and I will come to you. We'll go to the lady here at the front.
Domestic accountability has never modern history.
Oh my days. Oh my days. Of course she's here. Damn. All right. How do you get invited to these things? I might as well have asked Getachew Reda a question myself, bro. Been like, yo, bro, what's your hair care routine? Do you get what barber did you go to, bro? For fuck's sake,
history in Ethiopia. And there were several international initiatives that were started and then ended because of the federal government's involvement internationally. The AU is one example, the United Nations was another. And then this was replaced by the domestic mechanism that we still haven't seen any prospects from. And so I'm asking, as someone who was working at Amnesty International during the conflict, looking and working with the victims.
Every 2 seconds, bro, she's talking about she used to work at Amnesty International, she's a human rights lawyer, bro. If you're really a human rights lawyer, would you not have spoken up for the Eritrean refugees in Sudan? Or just the Sudanese people in general, bro? You know what I'm saying, bro? I don't know why you're making it your whole brand, bro. That you used to work for this organization, but you don't speak up for Sudanese refugees or Eritrean refugees and people in Sudan, bro. It don't make no sense. Especially because she cares so much about Eritrean refugees, bro. But that's a whole nother video, bro.
Looking and working with the victims of that conflict was one of the most heartbreaking experiences of my life. You were there in person. What do you say to those people now in terms of the future of their justice accountability prospects?
Okay. Well, I would say the very nature of the war, especially when it comes to Tigray, is such that just domestic responsibility alone would not be able to take care of the issue of justice and accountability. There were all sorts of assortment of groups that were involved in the crimes. And to just assume that transitional justice, that only takes into account, assuming that it's going to be implemented, will take care of all of the crimes.
There was an African Union Commission, there was a UN Commission. The Ethiopian government lobbied to have them shut down.
Well, I cannot speak for the government because this happened while I was arguing against it. What I'm saying is there needs to be...
You would like to see those commissions still around?
And there needs to be an international component to the...
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you, yeah? Getachew Reda's first language isn't English, so sometimes when he's speaking, he's not really it's not like he's incompetent, it's just, it's not his first language, innit? So, I don't know why Mendi Hassan keeps yelling at him, bro. Just chill out, bro. English isn't his first language, innit? Just chill. Let him get it what he wants to say out, innit?
The quest for justice.
There was. And the guy you work for lobbied to shut it down.
Okay, I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. What I'm saying is, now that you don't have those institutions, so we need to...
I'm surprised he knows that saying. That's actually mad, bro. Don't cry over spilt milk. Did they have something similar in Tigrinya, don't cry over tsaba? Atakufut! Don't cry over tsaba. Don't cry. Atahungugu. Don't cry over tsaba. Don't cry over tsaba on the midri, okay? Hands up.
Have an international
so what are you
component.
Calling for? What is that? Are you calling for an international tribunal, international investigation? What are you calling
I don't have the specifics, but yeah, some kind of tribunal. Yeah, that involves, of course, the involvement of that involves international actors.
Because is that your personal view or is that the government's view?
That's my view. I am an advisor. I'm not a policymaker. This is the same advice I would proffer to the government. There needs to be an international component because the crimes involved international actors as well.
Got shut down by the government you work for. Let's go back to the audience. I said I'd go to that gentleman at the back.
So Donald Trump claims that he solved 8 wars, and one of them was between Ethiopia and Egypt.
Bro, is this Mendi Hassan's cousin or something? What's going on? I genuinely, bro, he would where are they getting these people to just come? Genuinely, bro, Why don't they have Baba Shikor on that panel, bro? Like, to ask questions. Guys, why don't they have the guy with the most journalistic integrity to answer those damn questions, fam? They're just getting anybody to answer these questions, bro. Listen, I'm not even trying to disrespect the man, bro. But respectfully speaking, does he know where Tigray is on a map? Do you get it? Because I don't even think like most of these guys know in the audience where Tigray is, bro. I don't even know if they knew what Tigray was, bro, before they came into this shit, bro. I'll be real, fam. I thought they just came to see the stand-up comedy show and then they just started learning about Ethiopian history along the way, fam. Most of these guys just came in to have a laugh. Like, let's be real.
Between Ethiopia and Egypt. He said that he ended it, but there really was no war between Ethiopia and Egypt. So he's lying, right?
You know, I have reached that point of time when I don't have to make more enemies. So I'm not going to say anything about President Trump.
At least he's self-aware. At least he's self-aware.
But to the extent that he has solved any war between Ethiopia and Egypt, I would say it must be war of words. Even that is far from addressed as far as I am concerned.
But there was no war between Egypt and
There was no war, but
he goes around saying it's one of the 8 wars he solved.
The war of words has been going on for quite some time.
So Donald Trump solved a war of words between Ethiopia and Egypt.
Stick to your characterization.
Those are your words. I'm just summarizing.
Yes, he hasn't solved a war between Egypt and Ethiopia.
Thank you very much.
Because there was none.
That was good. We're in agreement. Finally.
To be fair though, like, I mean, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here, bro. Maybe it's a trade war, you know. Maybe it's a war, a battle of the airlines, you know what I'm saying? Egypt Air versus Ethiopian Airlines. Who's better? I don't know, bro. You know, maybe that's what he was referring to. Maybe it wasn't just an actual war.
That was good. We're in agreement. Finally tonight, we're in agreement. Gentlemen in second row.
My question is, moving forward, the Ethiopian government is hoping to hold the next election, I think in next June, and I understand you have a new party called Simrat, which is Tigray Liberal Democratic. Could you please explain what is being prepared in terms of you taking part in the election? And thank you.
This party was established simply to make sure that the movement for change in Tigray doesn't fizzle out because of the reckless leadership of the TPLF.
Right. Reckless leadership of TPLF. I mean, they've always been like this, so I don't know why he's so surprised.
Or whatever is left of it. So we are trying to fill the gap.
Like, bro, you was literally a part of that leadership, bro. Like, you was literally there. I don't know what he's talking about, reckless leadership, bro. It was literally reckless when you was in a war, bro. And you was still a part of these guys. And you was leading it. So, and at one point, you was leading that party. So, I don't know what he means by reckless leadership. Like, it's some new thing. Like.
But we also know that we cannot repeat what the TPLF leadership, myself included, had been doing, which is, of course, totalitarian control of the Tigrayan public.
Lady in the glass.
So, you don't want to repeat what the TPLF leadership were doing, including yourself as one of the leaders, by making your own political party. And like what this man said, he said he's running for, he's representing his party, or he's running, or he's involved in that party. I don't really get it. Like, I just, listen, everyone can make mistakes and shit, but this guy, he's made more than mistakes, bro. Like, he was actively complicit how the TPLF was moving, bro. He was actively involved in that.
Lady in the glasses. Yes, do you want to stand up?
Thanks very much. On your watch as regional president, your new allies were responsible for more deportations, for more killings, for more massacres. You know that your new allies in Western Tigray, who are still administering that area, have been accused of ethnic cleansing on a massive scale. You know that they are still responsible for brutalizing that population, including, keeping women in sexual slavery. So I want...
Yep, I've been saying this, bro. Tigray, when they say, oh, Tigray G-side, bro, in Tigray themselves, bro, they be doing that to other ethnic groups and to themselves, bro. To themselves, like. And it's funny how, like, Vanessa never mentioned that. She never mentioned any of that. Literally, like, she avoided that. Why did this woman right here? Because, you know, if you care so much about the victims of SA and all that stuff, why didn't you mention what's happening in Western Tigray, like what this woman's saying? Why didn't you mention that? It's just a bit, you know, for someone to be bragging about humanitarian activists and they used to work for Amnesty International, you're kind of picky and choosy. So it doesn't make sense. She's an Eritrean woman as well. And she claims to care so much about these people and like all the victims and stuff, but it took this woman right here to literally check the guy about women being unalived and raped in the Tigray region by the Tigray forces, bro. Like, you know, in the area administrated by the Tigray governing bodies. Like, I just...
To know what it is that you, with this miraculous power that you're now going to wield, are going to do to keep those people safe, especially in the absence of any prospect of justice or accountability.
Well,
thank you.
You should know better that holding the people, the IDPs hostage, is a tactic that has been employed by the leadership in Magala, in Tigray. And well, while I had issues with federal government on some of the issues they were raising, we still were in agreement as interim Tigray administration with the federal government to go through that process of repatriation of IDPs. But the TPLF leadership, minus me, decided that without their former administration going to the picture, that they would not accept that. This is pretty much what happened.
There were 3 times of redisplacement, 3 times of attempts for safe passage of the displaced individuals, and all 3 times they were redisplaced again. We were there reporting it.
No, you know,
it's not the lack of...
I know where you're coming from. What I'm saying is we had a series of negotiations with the federal government. We had decided on a number of steps to be taken care of, which not just me, but also the very people who were in charge of the implementation of the process were in perfect agreement with. But unfortunately, the political leadership would have none of it.
Let's go
That's
to this
what
lady who's
happened.
been waiting patiently in the red.
Splinter groups in Araya and Afar are undermining the peace and recovery in Tigray and distracting from justice and accountability in Tigray. Will you advise the PM to stop arming the splinter groups and the insurgents and focus his attention on implementing COHA, since that's been neglected for all these years?
The focus should be, both for the Prime Minister and for all of us involved, to the fullest possible implementation of the cessation of hostilities agreement. Well, I would beg to differ when it comes to your assessment of what's happening in Afar. I'm totally against any armed move against anyone, including the very people who ousted me, to use his word. But
Getachew, you're accused of supporting these splinter groups as well.
No, I'm not.
The Tigrayan Peace Forces, are you involved with that?
The Tigrayan Peace Force, you know, my understanding of the Tigrayan Peace Force is a resistance against the kind of totalitarian moves by the TPLF leadership, and they are there to make sure that they don't have the wherewithal to launch another.
So you are involved with that group?
No, I'm not involved in that group. Whoever does that.
This guy, bro, oh my days. Bro, you can't make this up. The Tigray Peace Force. The Tigray Peace Force is just, I forgot about that, bro. That's 2 jokes, bro. Tigray Peace Force, bro. What is that? It's called the Tigray Peace Force, but they're always in conflict. How does that make sense? The jokes are writing themselves, honestly, man.
And they are there to make sure that they don't have the wherewithal to launch another.
So you are involved with that group?
No, I'm not involved in that group. Whoever does that, I would support only if they are focused on making sure that TPLF leaders are not going to be used by the Eritrean regime to further destabilize the country. Because at the end of the day,
the Eritrean regime using the Tigray Peace Force to destabilize Ethiopia, an already destabilized country. Trust, you know? Guys, come on, let's be real. We need to really take accountability, guys. Eritrea does not need to destabilize Ethiopia, bro. Ethiopia is already destabilized. It's a mess. From time in the Tigray region, they have not 1, not 2, but 3 different splinter groups actively trying to get power in that region specifically. Not the whole of Ethiopia, just that region. They're going to try and blame Eritrea for destabilizing when that country's already been destabilized. Come on, bro. Come on, man.
what the Eritreans are calculating is to bring the conflict into Tigray and other parts of Ethiopia so that whatever ambitions Abiy might have, they could get away scot-free.
Getachew, next year Ethiopia will hold a federal election. You started this new party, as we heard earlier.
Shout out to Eritrea though for getting a shout out, bro. First time, I can't lie, was this the first time Eritrea got mentioned in the whole interview? Was this the first time that Eritrea got mentioned in the whole interview? That's actually mad, if it is. But yo, shout out to Eritrea still, man.
As we heard earlier, Simrit. You've been in Ethiopian politics for almost 2 decades. Like a lot of other Ethiopian politicians, you've promised a lot of change, haven't delivered that change, as we've discussed tonight. Isn't the best path for peace and stability in Ethiopia for people like yourself and Abiy, who've been around for a while, to just retire from politics and let a new, untainted generation take the reins?
I can only speak for myself at this point in time. You are right about me and my colleagues to have to leave the scene and hand over to whoever is capable of understanding the situation on the ground and resolving issues without being tainted by whatever ugly past we have.
Why did you just found a new political party?
Let's just say I had to lend credibility, whatever support I have in Tigray, I need to lend that to the party. And rest assured, I will not be running for any specific office.
On that note, I will have to say, Getachew Reda, thank you so much for joining us on Head to Head tonight.
Fair enough, man. I can't even argue with that, bro. It's like, fair enough. I can't lie to you, even though I disagree with Getachew Reda on a lot of things, and you know, he was against my country. Part 2, he was a bit better. You know, he made a bit more sense in part 2. I have to give him credit where credit is due. It makes sense, you know, I can't be too mad at it, you know. Even though him founding a political party, like, is a bit mad. If he's really genuine at what he's saying, if he's really genuine and he's literally saying he needs to found it to give it credibility so that these guys can take over, that is admirable and that's respectable, yeah, and I have to give him props for that. However, do I feel like he won't be involved in any capacity with the Tigray Peace Force anymore? Only time will tell, right? But overall, part 2 was a lot better than part 1. He was a lot more coherent, I guess. Even part 1, you know, he was coherent, but very contradictory. I feel like now, in part 2, Mendi Hassan in part 2 looked like he was kind of pushing at him a bit, you know, trying to push his own agenda. Low-key. I don't agree with Getachew Reda anyways, you know. I love Eritrea and Eritrean sovereignty. So, you know, when these guys are trying to mess it up, you know, I disagree with that. I love Eritrea and Eritrean sovereignty, but, you know, credit where credit's due, innit? So, yeah, guys, that is it. That is the reaction video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Final thoughts on the whole thing. Honestly speaking, it's, you know, it's a complete joke thing. Hopefully, you know, things change. Like what he's saying, it would be nice to have new people, you know, like new, young, you know, my generation. Yeah, overall, very entertaining interview. Yeah, just entertaining, really, like entertaining, and a lot of stuff I already knew before anyways, so it wasn't really new to me or a shock to me. Just you know, more personal stuff. Like, more of the personal stuff was like a shock to me when Getachew was talking about his sister getting kidnapped and then the other stuff as well, you know. But other than that, yeah, you know, entertaining interview. If you want me to do more of these reaction videos, I'm happy to do it. I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.